Where's the EQ on the reverb? Delay time? Turn up the feedback. Wait. Pan the condenser to the left and the dynamic to the right. Lower the threshold. Raise the output. Wait. Set the frequency range. High pass. Welcome to the Lady Audio Radio Show. Hey everyone, my name is Clara and I'm the host of the Lady Audio Radio Show. Thank you for joining me this week. I have a few shoutouts for you before we jump into our interview. The first shoutout is to ProducerTweets for all the good laughs. Thank you. And another shout out goes to GoGirlsMusic.com and their fabulous weekly Twitter chat. All you have to do is hashtag GGChat and join in the fun. Number 3 shout out goes to PrimalRadioLive.com and PrimalMusicBlog.com. They offer a great radio station and new music reviews. My final shout out goes to a new project I've started called Weird Stories. Weird is spelled W-Y-R-D, and it's just an ancient way of spelling the word weird. It's a video podcast featuring stories about ghosts, crypto creatures, UFO encounters, and strange things of a paranormal nature. If you're interested in listening to people tell their amazing stories, this would be the place to listen. You can check it out and subscribe on YouTube, and as always, I'll post the links to all these shoutouts in the show notes. On a different note, I love to interview artists who record their own music. So if you're interested in being on the show, please send me an email. My email address is clara@ladyaudio.com. And also please visit ladyaudio.com and join the email list. That way you'll stay up to date with new episodes and any special announcements. From the website, you'll find links to like the Lady Audio Facebook page and to follow me directly on Twitter. All right, thank you for listening. Talk to you soon. Bye. Our guest this week is Hetty Bloom. Hetty is a producer as well as a musician. She's currently working on new music for a project called Electric Tiffany, and she's working on a score for a film about mental illnesses. Hetty, welcome to the show. Thank you for joining me today.
Hello, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Sure. So my first question for you is that you're currently working on music for a film called Pixies, which is about mental illnesses. As a producer, how are you approaching what type of music to accompany the documentary?
Okay, so this particular film, it has a lot of dialogue. So with my music, we kind of wanted to approach it with a lot of just find the right sound. So play with the frequencies. So play with high and really low, and kind of just leaving the middle frequencies quite alone, and just play around with what can feel quite uncomfortable and what can feel really comfortable for the listener who's watching it. So during this process, we went from having always no sound to having, so there's no melody in it, but it's more, there's melody, but it's more like in the end where the movie ends, the music starts. So for the final credits and stuff, it's definitely more musical. Otherwise, we wanted to just bring the atmosphere and bring the emotion into the film with different sounds and more like paint the emotion with the music and sound into the film. And as soon as I saw the film, I thought this is perfect project, because it is harder to do something minimalistic than something really full. So I kind of needed to really concentrate to make it really minimalistic and just make it as effective as possible with as less sound as possible, if that makes sense.
Wow. No, that's interesting. I didn't realize that you really had to take more of a minimalistic approach to that, because I can understand when you're, especially with a documentary film, you don't want the music to really get in the way of what's being, what they're talking about and what they're trying to get across. But at the same time, you definitely want to support it as much as you can, so that it does have more of an impact.
I just must say that it's not a documentary, though. Oh. It is a film, but
it is.
It's also this, yes.
Oh, I see. Because I thought it was a documentary film, but it isn't. It's like so what type of a film is it?
So it's quite a metaphorical film about people, mental illness, a person who, it can, I think it's because it is really metaphorical. It can be taken as you want to be taken, but for me, it seems like it is about mental illness, and it is like, it's about just, one space and one mind, but it's like a talk inside of your head type of situation that you kind of try to cover, or trauma, or something big happened, and the characters is trying to fighting against these people, different characters, different people inside of yourself. Is really deep and really metaphorical, and so that's why so there's a lot of space, a lot of dialogue, and it's actually really beautiful film. And I think it's one of those that you kind of start to understand. You can question yourself a lot through that.
And then for my second question, I wanted to ask you, the music for Electric Tiffany is much different than the music that you've been doing for the film. And the song that you have on SoundCloud that's called Follow has a really good feel to it. Can you tell us about the story of recording and mixing that song?
Yeah, so that's a quite interesting story, because it's the first big project that I've done as a producer. And to be honest, I feel quite proud of this project. And I'm proud of the track. And even though we went through quite a trip with it. So basically we started with the studios in my university, and we recorded all the instruments. So we used
a train that takes me back home. The train that takes me back home. follow.
We have a harp in it, which we recorded with 5 different microphones. So it was quite a setup to get all the good parts of the harp.
Wow.
Also, we have a really kind of vintage Casio keyboard on board. So it's that had a lot of like fuzzy sounds on it. So we need to use microphone and different amps to actually get the sound out of it. So there was quite a lot of complications from the beginning. So I recorded the original tracks with sound engineer called Megan Andrews in the studios for Pro Tools. We did the pre-cuts and all the mixing, like the pre-mixing first with Pro Tools on the studios, and then I wanted to continue working with that project at home. So I wanted to put those on my my Ableton Live, and so I was converting the files and I put it on my Ableton, and then my computer crashed completely. So everything was gone, and happily I didn't work too long for that project, so I did miss something, but basically I needed to figure something out fast because I was running out of time. I didn't have studio time, so I needed to get something. So I had my old GarageBand, and I started recording with GarageBand 3 years ago. So I felt like I know GarageBand quite well. It's really basic, and it was like just 16 bits that I started mixing it with. And yeah, the quality was kind of not that good, but because I knew all the elements of GarageBand so well, it was quite fast for me to work with it, and all the mixing process, different effects and EQing and some all the basic mixing that I needed to do for it, I was able to do. And when I bought my new computer with new hardware, I bought new Ableton Live standards, and also Ableton Push 2. And those became my favorite tools ever, because with this follow, I converted them from GarageBand to Ableton, which is like the third program on this song. And yeah, it was just, it actually ended up being kind of journey, but with Ableton. Then I finished the mix, and then I finished mastering with it. And yeah, so, and we also had another master guy who we actually paid to master it, but then we were not really happy with the final master. So then I needed to learn how to more mastering, and that was a couple more extra weeks. But I think it was worth it, because in the end we end up being happy with the track. It was really good. Also, I was playing a lot with frequencies in that song. I wanted to kind of bring the Scandinavian effects of kind of melancholy, and because, so I'm a Scandinavian, I'm Finnish, and then we have 2 Scottish girls playing in the band. So we wanted to kind of bring the harp, Scottish harp and electronic music and Scandinavian effect into the track. So I wanted to play with the melancholy. So example, one thing that I did with the track was play with the frequencies with the harp. So I, example, converted the harp track, audio track, to MIDI track, and then I raised it with 3 notes, and then I play with the frequency so that it kind of clashes nicely with the real harp, and I made it a synth sound. So when you hear the harp in the track, it's actually like you can hear this synth sound that kind of follows the harp sound, and it kind of clashes nicely with it. And I think that is one of the main effects of the whole song. And so that's some of the process.
Yeah, I think that definitely, that's really interesting to just take something so organic and to create MIDI out of it and then affect that. That's a really interesting approach. That's really cool.
That's something that I wanted to try out, and I feel why not try to do that even more. You know, we can do so much with we can do so much with with this equipment nowadays. So we can, you know, something like harp, you can make, well, in the band we still want to try to even put like pedals on a harp and stuff and just see what kind of sounds, because it's something completely different that you can really create with guitars, or you can create with the hardware. You know, the authentic sound still comes from the instrument, and with different equipment you can actually make this authentic sound something completely different. And I think it's really fascinating.
Yeah, that's really cool. And right now you're currently looking for production, mixing, and remix work in addition to composing for film. And yet some people may think you have a disadvantage because you have dyslexia, while others, maybe in this particular music industry, may think of it as an advantage. You know, with music and different art industries in this business, where being able to see from a different perspective, or be able to hear things from a different perspective, I think can add to... Let me reword this, because I'm not doing a very good job.
So do you think, like,
Yeah, I'm just like, I'm starting to go down my little rabbit trail here. It's like, because I live with an artist too, and I know how he thinks where I'm kind of more linear, and I'm thinking, going, oh, I need to do this and this and this and this to get to this particular step. He's already at that next step and going, yeah. No, like, see, once you get to that step, there are all these other things that need to be worked out. So, and I was like, well, I hadn't even gotten there yet, because I'm going along this other path, you know. But anyway, let me reword this. Some people may think you have a disadvantage because you have dyslexia, while others will think you have an advantage, especially in the music industry or in an art business. Can you let us know a little bit about your background and your experience?
Yeah, so dyslexia is, I think, interesting thing, because personally I don't ever think about it. I don't consider myself as having a disability, even though the world seems to think I have a disability because I have dyslexia. Because I'm English is not my native language, and I have really bad dyslexia, I can find examples, studio environment quite intimidating, because when you have this conversation with people, I can't remember the names of equipment. I can't remember the names of microphones. And when you are just going to people and saying, hey, could I get that thing, that microphone thing, the condenser, like that condenser microphone or that pen microphone, you know, like I can exactly describe exactly the sound and the why, like I can describe everything with the microphone, but the name of it. I can't remember all the blockings. I can't remember everything in the music industry, all the names. So what dyslexia is that it's just another way of thinking. It's not a disability. It's one way to use your brain differently than majority of people are using their brain. So we have dyslexic people don't have anything wrong in their brain. It's just another way of thinking. And what it has actually been proven in science too is that dyslexia is one way to be creative. Like dyslexic people are mostly more creative than people who doesn't have dyslexia. So most of like art schools are full of dyslexic people, because it's the way that you can actually think outside of a box. So example in music, we were talking about artists. Artists don't need to remember every single name of their brushes. You know, all the brushes do have a name, papers do have a name. They don't probably remember, but they just know how to use the brushes. They know exactly what kind of, you know, what to do with it and what kind of like print the brush makes. And that's exactly how I see music. I see microphones, I see leads, and I see these programs, is that what type of picture it paints, so sound I see as a picture. I see it when I approach to make a music for film or for someone else, composing a music for someone else. I can step into their shoes and think, completely. I see it as a picture, I see the colors, I even almost smell it, because it's, for me, music and sound is something that is so connected to like everyday life. And I understand that in a studio environment, as well as in music industry, people might judge me and underestimate me because I don't know exactly all the fancy words for everything. But personally, I might enjoy more working at home and actually show what I can do and what I can do with all my equipment. But I really don't want to use time in this world to prove myself to people who don't understand, my approach to the music. And yeah, of course, I am still starting, so of course with time I'm probably going to learn more and more to talk about this, the equipment. But I really hope that in the music industry also the way of thinking about producers can be seen more, as artists, not only really more like the technical type of number, like people who know, are really good at math and really good at physics and science, because I'm really, really not good at any of that. So I'm more like, I just know these are just my tools to make the art, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. It does make sense. It's like this age-old thing where you can have two different people approach a recording, and one person may have all of the best equipment, and they have a lot of outboard gear and a really great console and everything. And then you have another person who doesn't have anything but maybe an SM57 microphone and, a little cheap interface, and they get these incredible sounds just with that. And I think a lot of it has to do with just using your ear and seeing the art of the music and trying to pull that and trying to create the different moods that move us. So
yeah, just 3 years. I was just today thinking about this, because what you just said, because 3 years ago when I started, I moved to UK and I started recording just by myself. I borrowed a sound desk. I didn't even know what it is. I was just like putting leads to different holes and trying out. I had GarageBand on my Mac, and I was like, okay, this GarageBand, I can just work on that. Okay. I went to Pound Store and got a microphone from Pound Store with £1. And I went to connect it to this soundboard that I didn't even know anything about. And I just like, okay, so I can put this £1 microphone through this board to GarageBand. And I was just recording so much, and I was just using so much time, and I had so much fun. And to be honest, any of the recordings, they didn't sound too bad. Of course, they sounded quite bad if I think about them now, but with £1 microphone, you can do miracles. And if, a person who would know how to use all this equipment might be actually, make quite good sound with it. So I think it's not about the equipment, it's about the attitude, and it's about how much you listen and what is the sound. Because, actually in follow, I need to come back. I'm just going to stop talking soon. But in follow, in vocals, I use the condenser microphone, Focusrite Scarlett microphone. And I also used, I recorded with my iPhone 6S, I recorded half of the songs, like the vocals, same time as I was singing to the microphone. And I used that. So on the track, you can hear this little high frequency and the vocals, and that's from the phone microphone. So I recorded them with phone and imported to Ableton. So that's why I wanted this kind of effect of little, like, the high frequency effect that you only get from phones. And I found that really fascinating. So I was playing around with that. And, people say that, oh, well, if you use all this cheap equipment or even phones, but I don't know. I think it's about what you feel is right for your song. And personally, for that song, I felt like using my phone as another microphone, and I liked it, and I think it worked with the song. So
yeah, I think that's a really good approach, because a lot of people might think, especially if they're beginning engineering, that I want to have that telephone effect, so I'll just record my vocal and then I will use EQ, and I'll just use a high pass filter and get the sound that way. But that is almost like saying I'm going to fix it in the mix. Whereas if you get the telephone vocal from the actual telephone and you record it that way, that's the sound that you are going for. And then from there, if it needs any adjustments, you can make them. So that's a really great approach. I always appreciate that.
And why would people buy high frequencies like microphones anyhow? Because they're so amazing. Like, I just saw, I can't remember what it's called, but my friend we were playing around in the studio with he had it looked like a pepper shaker, and it was a microphone, but it was exactly like old radio type of high frequency microphone, and it cost like 50 quid or something, but the sound out of it was amazing. And when you use it with drums, it kind of brought the exact frequency that we're missing. So if you would use that, use any good microphone for drums, and then you would just add the high frequency, it would not be the same. I would reckon that it would not be the same as using the microphone that would bring the exact high frequency, right, which is perfect for it kind of brought like the drums alive. It felt like it was so much more fuller. The sound was so full after using that microphone. Yeah. But
great. So speaking of microphones and speaking of gear, so far in your career, what are your 3 favorite tools to work with when you're mixing?
When I'm mixing, I was thinking about this for a long time, and this question, and I've been thinking about, but because I feel like I'm so in the start of my career, I haven't got that much gear, to be honest. Right now, my favorite thing in the world is Ableton Push 2, and I could just be with it forever. It's perfect for mixing, recording, like you can do everything with it. And I play on a stage live, and I'm just like basically carrying with it everywhere, because you can record it, you can play on stage, you can mix, you can do levels, you can do all that. You can basically do almost everything with it. It's such a good little tool, so that you don't need to be completely all the time on your computer like this, but you can actually sit down, you can actually like hear and use the actual physical knobs and stuff to create the sound. So for me, that's my first kind of more valuable producer equipment. So I'm just loving it. So also in Ableton, you have as a plugins and effects, like if we talk about compressors, one of my favorite ones in Ableton is Clue Compressor, that I just love using. And in mixing, that compressor is, I don't know, it just brings the perfect amount of compression, almost like it's quite general for all. It's really general, but it brings the perfect amount, and then you can continue with something else. But I think it's a good start for many instruments on audio tracks, and yeah, I love that one. otherwise, I feel like these are like the first ones that can just come to my mind. And yeah, well, I'm an Ableton Live fan, so it just, as probably the people noticed already, I do use Pro Tools, and in that I don't have them by myself, but in university I use Oxford gear to in a mixing process a lot. But personally, I don't have them in here. But I love that. I love using with Pro Tools that Oxford. Was it? Gosh, good to ask me my favorite tools, because I can't even remember. It's a thing with a thing, which is a blue thing, and then you just do that, and that thing.
Okay,
that's me explaining.
Perfect. The blue thing. I like the blue thing.
The blue thing that makes a cool sound.
I think that's perfect. So basically, I should say your two favorite tools would be like Ableton Live and what is the name of the compressor in there?
Glue compressor. Yeah, that comes like it's in Ableton Live.
Okay.
I think it's in the Ableton Live standard and the one higher from that. But yeah, it's nice little compressor.
Nice. And where can people go to listen to Electric Tiffany or to hire you as a producer or a composer?
Electric Tiffany, you can find from Facebook. Also, you can go to www.electrictiffany.com, and all the information and all my portfolio and all my updates. Plus, I'm writing a blog on my website, and all that you can find from hettybloom.com and or Hetty Bloom Facebook page or Twitter, and there's many platforms for Hetty Bloom. But yeah, basically you can just connect me through my website and just follow blog and portfolio, and I'm just putting all the updates up there.
Great. Thank you so much, Hetty, for coming on the show and for sharing all of the information about your production work. And, it's always great to hear fresh perspectives about what people are doing. And I think that your approach is definitely going to bring you a lot of work in this field. Yeah.
Hopefully. That'd be lovely.
Yeah.
It'd be nice to just improve myself, improve and get better, and just see where it can lead, to be honest.
Yeah. Well, I think you're getting really great sounds, and I think that will definitely push things forward just with that alone.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, you're welcome, and thank you so much, and I'll talk to you soon.
Bye.
Bye.